Hey everyone, it's Ivan, KitBadger.com, here to bring you another gear review, and today talking about the TILO-3Z Plus. What is the TILO-3Z? Ultimately, it's a little thermal unit. So, a while back, Soldier Systems, if you're not familiar with them, pretty awesome industry blog, all kinds of stuff on there. And this company, Anders, I believe it is, they ended up posting this thing, hey, we have some of these new units coming out. We'd like to get some in people's hands, have some people make content, do some reviews. And I'm like, I'll do that. And they said, okay. So they ended up shipping me one out from Germany. That's where they're based. Took a while to clear customs, all that stuff. And unfortunately, it took a while to get into my hands. And I only had this set period of time, which was made even smaller because I needed to get essentially the attachments for it to be able to use it, which all came from a company in like Belgium or something like that, I feel like. So my window for use with this thing was relatively small. Consequently, didn't quite get to do everything I would have liked with it. But what is it? It's basically this small thermal device. And you can either run it on a helmet or there's a headband, and so you can run it on a headband. And it also has an adapter so you can put it in front of an optic. So essentially you could take this unit, put it onto an optic, and now you have whatever your optic is already set up for, i.e. this thing's already zeroed, everything like that, except now it's a thermal optic. Sounds really cool, right? So actually all that stuff sounds really cool. I will say I did run into a few things that I was like, this isn't my favorite thermal. Here's some of the stuff that I ran into. There's some things on the unit that kind of left me wondering. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. So trying to pack stuff into this thing, like, you know what? We're gonna make it into a headlamp too. And it's not a very good headlamp. On top of that, the switches. It's not reach up, turn my headlamp on. Like, you kind of have to like cycle through some stuff. And the way it is set up, there's a white light, a red light, and then an infrared light. Again, this is a thermal unit, so it's like, why do we even have an infrared light on there? And the idea of using a thermal as well as a like IR, like PVS-14 or something, I can't even imagine trying to navigate with that. Like, they're not collated, so your eyes are like be looking crazy, different directions. You crash into everything. It's hard enough to actually just use the thermal and try and navigate things, let alone that and like an IR like tube on the other eye. But whatever, it is what it is. Another thing though is the way it actually interfaces. So it has basically this little proprietary shoe that slips into either the headband mount, or they have this not super robust helmet mount. So it basically drops down over one eye. And again, like, I could imagine myself breaking the hell out of that as like a Lance Corporal in the Marine Corps. Doesn't look super robust, and it's a departure from like standardization as far as we have all kinds of mounts for helmets that we already use for nods. Like, it seems like it would make sense to essentially go with something proven, something we already have, something that we're using. But it is what it is. The eyepiece though, again, proprietary. So the actual like rubber eye cup, like on your PVS-14 or all these different things, pretty standard. With that, from a content creation standpoint, it's pretty handy because you basically get step-down rings. I can attach that to my camera and I can film through it. Be like, hey, here's the view you're getting. Versus having to ultimately hold a phone up to the unit and be like, well, here's more or less what you're getting. Yeah, non-standard sizes. This also includes, man, trying to use this thing in an optic. So the actual size they have, I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's some sort of like European objective lens diameter, but I couldn't get it to fit on any optic. Only optic that came close was a buddy of mine. He had this old hunting rifle, belonged to his father or his grandfather, I think, and it was like a fixed 6-power scope. Again, really weird, like actual objective lens diameter. Wasn't something like, oh, we're gonna use Vortex 1 to 6 as kind of the baseline to go ahead and make this optic mount. So you could just throw it on the end of there, which in concept is really cool. You can basically turn your like variable 1 to 6 into a thermal. That would be amazing. But yeah, I couldn't get this to get on anything except this really random old school like fixed 6-power scope. So kind of a no-go. Having said all that, is there anything positive? Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty cool, compact little thermal device. Basically open up the lens cover, it turns on, you got a thermal. But beyond that, like it's kind of lacking for me. It's set up in a way that you pretty much need to be wearing this thing, whether it's on the headband or the helmet mount. And I don't really want to try and navigate with that thing on. For me personally, I think it would be much more, even though it is really compact, I think the form factor is just, it's good for what it was made for, even though that is absolutely not my application. For me personally, I would rather have something more like a monocular, so I can just take it, scan, see what I need to see, and put it away, rather than have to try and navigate with something like that. If it was a thermal overlay onto IR, game changer. Like, that would be cool, because yeah, you can navigate everywhere and have that thermal capability, but it's not. It's just standalone thermal. And even like, I'd love the concept of being able to just throw this on the end of a optic, so you can do some shooting, have your reticle, it's already zeroed, everything. You don't have to actually zero like a thermal optic. That's great, except couldn't get it to work. None of the adapter, or the adapter wouldn't fit pretty much any optic, which was a bummer. But if it's something that you might have a need for, you can check them out, see if it would work for you. And if not, well, pass on this one. But I will say it was pretty cool. I appreciated the opportunity to actually check it out and get a little bit of time in with it, but definitely didn't fit any of my needs. So it is what it is. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.